Come do-si-do and swing your partner to live bluegrass music at our monthly square dance at the Hindman Settlement School. Square dancing is beginner and family-friendly and a low-impact way to get moving to music. We'll teach you everything you need to know, and all the dances are taught step by step. If you play an acoustic instrument, feel free to bring it along and sit in with the band. You won't want to miss our next square dance at the Hindman Settlement School, located at 51 Center Street in downtown Hindman, Kentucky.
Take your pointer finger, and I want you to mash down all the blue dots with one finger.
Okay.
Just one finger. Yeah. And hold it flat.
Any finger?
Hold it flat so you cover up all the strings.
Our Pick and Bow program is more than just music lessons. It's a way for young people to express themselves through music. Our wonderful team of music teachers seek to empower students to develop their own unique voice through music. Learning to play an instrument is often not an easy task. It's hard work, but it teaches valuable life skills like collaboration, active listening, and creative problem solving. And when young people are given the tools to be successful at something difficult, the confidence that emerges from that serves them in every area of their life. Bluegrass and traditional music is often played in group settings. And we believe this is really important because it helps young people connect with themselves and with others and their community and see their role in a group. And how do you add to the group sound, and how do you listen to what's going on around you and add to it? And because we focus on teaching traditional Appalachian instruments and songs, young folks are not only learning about Appalachian music, but they are actively participating in the rich musical traditions of Appalachia and Eastern Kentucky and claiming it as their own.
The Red Spotted Newt is a locally owned independent bookstore located in downtown Hazard, Kentucky, specializing in Appalachian literature from authors such as Silas House, Gurney Norman, and Annette Clapsaddle, among many others. The Newt also offers a full collection of art and gifts, including Little Bubby Child prints and these sweet cards inspired by The Office. Check out their store located at 221 Memorial Drive in Hazard, or shop online through bookshop.org. And be sure to follow them on Facebook and Instagram at the handle Red Spotted Newt.
Well, I'm going downtown. I'm going to buy me a sack of flour. I'm going to cook it every hour. Keep my skillet good and greasy all the time, time. Skillet good and greasy all the time.
Hey Jenny, what's cooking?
What's cooking?
fall is in the air, but summer's still hanging on. Today, the weather was glorious. Were you out in it any?
I was out in that 55. It was 55 degrees at one point this morning.
You gotta
It was
love
just a little-
that.
You
You
I
gotta
just loved
love
it.
it.
I love that first time you attempted to put on a jacket. And guess what? We're back. Yeah, that's right. What's Cooking Now is back for another season of your favorite cooking operations from the 606, right here from the Heinemann Settlement School. This is What's Cooking Now, where food is love and love
tastes delicious.
and love tastes delicious. And today we're talking about transitioning into fall.
Really, there's more to that than just trying to decide when to bring your sweaters out and pack your summer stuff away.
Exactly. I mean, I'm sure there are people who do that and don't just pile everything, up in one big pile. I don't know those.
I mean, I wouldn't do
I don't know those people, but I'm sure there are people who do that.
Me either. So what are you making today?
Well, I'm going to talk about stuffing some squash. I'm going to talk about one of my favorite little squashes, the delicata, and we're going to
Beautiful.
we're going to kind of make a showy main dish out of it. So.
Yeah, and I'm using some delicata. You're never going to guess what I'm going to use it for.
A salad.
How did you know? Let's pull these out of the oven. We had them
Let's-
start
yeah,
getting
let's-
nice and toasty and brown.
We put some in here, so. Dum-da-da-dum.
Whoa.
Ooh, look at that.
That's so beautiful.
Getting all GB and D, golden brown and delicious.
You know
So-
what I love about delicata? You don't have to peel them. You can
Yeah,
eat.
you don't. That's why they're called
Just- yeah.
delicata. They're also called peanut squash or bohemian squash, by the
I
way.
did not know that.
They are. And what's great about them is that you're right, you don't have to, you do not have to peel these. So what I've done with mine is I've split them down, and then the nice thing about these delicatas is that they are, they're nice and hollow on the inside. To me, they're a good size for stuffing, and then they're hollow on the inside. So what I've done is I just split these open and I've cut the seeds out, and I'm roasting them.
Those are beautiful.
And I've just roasted them on sort of halves. And what I'm doing now is I'm going to flip them, and I'm just going to put them back in for just a few minutes.
Just to get that top brown?
Just to brown them. I'm going to drop a little butter and some seasoning salt on them, just for just another layer of flavor. And then pop them back in the oven just to brown up a little more, not a lot. And then later on, we're going to make a little stuffing for those guys.
That sounds amazing.
And what I love about, another thing I love about the delicata is it's almost like a transitional squash.
Yeah, it's
because
not quite a summer squash.
Not quite a summer squash, not quite a winter squash. It's got a lot of that flavor, but it's got that tenderness and edible skin, and plus it's one of the first ones you tend to get in your CSA if you've got one, as we both do, from our good friends at Old Home Place Farm, who have supplied these delicata squash, and we thank them for every winter squash they bring us, and frankly everything they bring us, because
Absolutely.
it's just a great time
100%. To keep your squash company, I'm going to put some beets and some radishes in. And a lot of people don't think about roasting radishes. They think about them just as something to enjoy raw, and they are great raw, but they take on a whole different character when you roast them. They get this deep, intense flavor. They're amazing. That looks great.
Yeah, those are going to be nice. And I pulled one of these out because this one is going to be sacrificial. We're going to be taking some of the squash and actually putting it in our stuffing. So you've got a little bit of a sort of a squashception going on. Squash stuffed with squash all the way down. So all right. So what all are you cooking for us tonight, Jenny?
Well,
Other than your salad. I know you've got some stuff on the stove over here.
I do. I've got some pasta water ready to cook pasta because I'm also going to make a pasta dish that is very summery. We've still got some tomatoes here at the end of the season, and they're beautiful. Picked these up at the Letcher County Farmers Market, and they're nice, kind of big tomatoes. And I love a good slow-cooked tomato sauce as well as the next person. I also love just slicing tomatoes and eating them. I mean, I've been eating them all summer, and I'm going to miss them when they're gone because I don't really eat them when they're out of season. But a really lovely thing to do with tomatoes that I learned from the New York Times Cooking is just to cut them in half like this, and to just take a grater and just grate them until nothing's left but the skin.
I'll tell you one place you see this is if you've been in Spain and around breakfast time, they have something called pan con tomate. which is just bread with tomato, and this is exactly how you prepare it. You grate the tomato
That sounds kind of
with it.
amazing.
It's really just toast with some olive oil and fresh tomato and salt, and that's it.
Well, this is
And
going to
it's,
pretty much just
yeah.
be pasta with those very same things. So I love that. I mean, it makes this beautiful.
Beautiful, fleshy,
Yeah,
just little.
and one of the things I like about doing this is that the pasta, it's going to be warm very gently, so it's not going to be completely uncooked. The pasta's going to be boiled, but I mean the tomatoes are going to be warm very gently, so it's not going to be uncooked. But it's really good as a pasta salad left over the next day.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah,
I love
so I'm
pastas
really-
that you can eat cold later on, and they're just as good.
I do too.
So
Me
anything.
too.
So while you're grating, I'm going to get my stuffing started, and that's going to start as so many good things do with bacon. Just got some just about 3 big strips of bacon that I've cut up into little bits, or lardons if you insist. That I'm going to go and throw in a hot skillet to start. I don't want that too hot, because what I really want to do is get a lot of the fat to come out of those. I want to render a lot of the fat out of that bacon.
So you're not looking to get it crispy. You're
Not
looking to get the fat.
not necessarily to get it crispy. Maybe later, but really what I'm trying to do is get a lot of the fat out of there, because that's what we're gonna cook the rest of our ingredients in. And I'm not using a lot of ingredients for this stuffing. Trying to keep it as simple as we can, but yeah, just gonna get that started and let that go for a few minutes. Gonna make the whole kitchen smell nice. So yeah, you've got that going on, and and so you end up with kind of a, I mean, it's almost like a gazpacho.
It's almost like a gazpacho, and in fact, I made this kind of recently, and before I did anything else with it, really, I saved some because it was so versatile. You know, this is just a really, I think, I'm so lazy about canning or preserving or anything like that, and I think this is kind of a good lazy way to use up those last of the tomatoes. And it doesn't have to be pretty tomatoes; they don't have to be perfect. And I just took some of this pulp and I made some gazpacho with it. I made some salsa with it. I made some basil tomato soup with it.
Yeah.
And I made this pasta with it because I had a bunch of tomatoes I needed to use up. I froze some. I'm not sure how that's going to do, but I suspect it'll be okay.
What I do when I've got a bunch is just take them all and put them on a big pan, and usually hit them with some garlic. Usually not right at first. I'll put the garlic in much later.
Just roast them.
And just roast them for a couple of hours, really slow. Like 275, 300, and just let those cook down, and then just put them in Ziplocs and put them in the freezer, and that's
yeah, that's about the level of
about the level of preservation I really go with tomatoes. I think that that's about the best way I know of to get your good to extend them as much as you can. I have dried some in the past, put them in a dehydrator or something like that, or just put them in the oven and pop it really low, kind of as low as it can go, and then leave them for a whole day or something like that. And
I dehydrated some cherry tomatoes in my air fryer, which is another use for it. It's kind of small, but I dehydrated some. My wonderful neighbors, Homer and Brenda Whitson, have so many cherry tomato plants because their granddaughters love to eat them, and they're so generous with it. And so they've given me quite a few, and I took some and I confit them in olive oil. So I just cooked them really slow and low in olive oil, and then just poured the whole thing, olive oil and all, in a jar. And those are in my refrigerator, and I've been pulling those out and putting them in stuff that's really good. And then I dried some that we'll see what I'm going to do with. So the other thing I have here is instead of making pesto or doing anything with this, this is a trick that I learned that I love, and it's a way to keep your basil, because basil will turn kind of brown, when it loses its bright, vibrant color. And so in order to keep it from doing that, I'm just going to plunge it into some boiling water, and then I'm going to put it in ice water right away. And that's going to keep it nice and green, and then I'm going to pull it out of the ice water, and I'm going to make a basil oil with it, which will keep for quite a while, and which I'm going to do instead of putting whole leaves of basil in this pasta when I cook it. So you're slicing up your squash.
I'm just cutting up some of this squash, and I'm going to actually go ahead and pull these out because I don't want them to get overdone.
How are my radishes looking? They still need a little time, don't they?
But yeah, so that's what my squash is looking like there on top, and those you could eat now. I mean, you could go ahead and eat that. That would be delicious. But again, we're going to stuff these and kind of make a gorgeous little main dish out of it. So I'm just going to put those aside for the time being.
I'm just going to come on over and plunge my And this is going to have to move quick because I really just want to dump it in, shake it around,
Starting to stick.
and that's it. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to strain it in here in the sink. Sorry. I'll be right back.
So I'm starting to cook my bacon down, and what you can see happening down below is there's a lot of is all that stuff sticking to the bottom. This is why this is the best thing for this is a good non-stick skillet, as I call them. Your regular old stainless skillet, and there's plenty of fat swirling down around in there too. So, but you've got all that nice stuff stuck to the bottom, and that's flavored. That's what the French would call fond. But yeah, that's what's gonna we're gonna end up kind of swooping a lot of that stuff back up. So that's coming around nicely.
Amazing.
Just gonna let that go. That won't take much longer.
Go ahead and scoop my pasta water over. Oops, wrong one. I'm really glad to be back here in the Hyman Settlement School kitchen, cooking again. We've missed it, but I think we both had good summers full of good food and fun things to do. What was your favorite thing you ate this summer on hiatus, Jonathan?
Oh, what have I eaten this summer? I know I was in Austin, Texas. Had some incredible tacos there. Had some really great. I think we might have done a show after that because I think I did the.
I think we did.
Michelada from
You did,
from
I
there.
remember that.
Where else have I been this summer? It's hard to say.
I know, it's all a blur.
This summer's I'll go back and reflect on it at some point, but right now it's all just a jumble.
blur.
Summer's a very busy time for me at my other job, so it's usually I'm getting busy about the time everybody else is trying to chill out a little bit. So all you did with that basil is just sort of
All I
put it
did
in
was
the.
just plunge it, and so it's nice and bright and green. And I
Yeah.
thought I had a little measuring cup I was going to do this in, but I don't see it now. Let me grab one.
So the point here is that basil is going to stay nice and green. It's shocking, is what they call this. Is just hitting it with the boil and then dumping it in
Yeah,
the
and it's
cold
going to look
water.
really pretty when we drizzle it over
Yep.
this pasta. So I'm just going to add some oil to it. A little salt out of my salt dish. And I'm just going to hit this with an immersion blender.
Now I do recommend if you make an oil like this, make sure you keep it in the refrigerator rather than
Yeah.
keep it just out on the counter because you're kind of setting up a perfect little environment for our friends Clostridium botulinum or your botulism spores that like to live in anaerobic environments, so they like to hang on to those little leaves inside the oil. But if you keep it in the fridge, it'll be fine.
I've even frozen this before.
Yeah, easily. If you wanted to get really froggy with it, you could freeze it in an ice tray. And
I don't
then,
have any ice.
Yeah, I don't either, but
Yeah, I love that. People that like, I freeze my herbs and then I pop out a cube whenever I want a little extra flavor. Those are
Like-
the same people that only have one junk drawer, and they switch. Those are the people that switch out their sweaters. And
yeah,
their summer clothes.
they have a fall, like, I mostly have one wardrobe that I just throw stuff on top of when I need it. So yeah, that's staying nice and green and pretty.
I love this dish too because it's pretty quick. You know, it's a good weeknight meal. And
Yeah.
like I said, because it tastes good even when it's cool, it's nice. You can eat the leftovers for lunch later.
Pretty, very pretty.
I've still got some pieces. Ordinarily, I probably would make this smoother if I were going to keep it, but for this dish, I want to keep these pieces, so I'm going to stop there.
Yep, perfect. Perfect. I'm going to go get my bacon off the stove.
Okay.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that bacon out of the skillet with a slotted spoon because I don't want it to cook too much. But I'm going to leave that fat behind, the bacon fat behind, down in there. So I'm going to add this back. Don't worry, this is not going anywhere. This is definitely going back in. I want it to come out right now while this is cooking. So I'm going to get my fire going again, and just
So
very
what's
low,
left in there? Just the bacon
fairly
fat?
low, just bacon fat and that that little bit of fond, as we call it. And what I'm going to go in there next is I did some sacrificial squash here. That one squash that I cooked just to cut up for this purpose. That this is going to go back in here. I'm going to let that go. What I'm also going to hit that with is probably a little bit of water. You could use any sort of flavorful liquid you wanted to. I'm going to hit it with a little bit of seasoning salt. It's because that's going to help leach some of the water out of it. So that water will go in and help pick up some of that tastiness on the that tastiness that's on the bottom of that pan that we don't want to go anywhere.
That fond is a term that I learned from you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really, like you said, I think we tend to want to use, non-stick skillets a lot, but when you have one that's not non-stick and it can form that nice crust on a meat, a little bit of it gets left behind, it makes the best sauces. And
Non-stick skillets have their place. I mean, I think every cook ought to have a good one of each. Because with fish, it's really hard to cook fish and it's really hard to cook eggs in a skillet that's not.
The most non-stick skillet I have is my cast iron skillet. I don't have a good. I'm
Yeah.
not very gentle with them.
Yeah, they are disposable. Non-stick skillets just don't last forever. I mean, it does. I don't care what they say. I don't care how much you baby them. They just don't last forever. So, now the problem with having the bacon out like this is that you're going to eat it. So make sure to cook more than you need.
Always.
So I got a little sizzle going on this over here. And then I'm going to add a little water. See, I'm going to dip a little out of your bowl here.
Okay. I love this because I feel like you could make this. I mean, obviously everything's better with bacon, but it feels like this would not be a hard lift to make this vegetarian.
It really wouldn't, and I considered
or
it.
even vegan.
Yeah, this would be an easy vegetarian main dish, because the bacon is the only thing. I mean, we are going to have some dairy product here in a little bit, but so just kind of scraping out all that stuff with a little bit of water. So if you've ever made gravy, you know this process. But then just kind of keep letting it go, and all that good fond, all that tastiness is going to stick to that squash that's in there.
Is my pasta water boiling over there?
It is, yes.
Go ahead and
Rolling.
Throw some pasta in. I chose to use shells for this because I wanted something that the sauce could kind of cling to a little bit, and I thought this would be a good option. I considered rotini. I considered penne. My daughter she's like real prejudiced against rotini. I don't know what's up with that. Yeah, and elbow macaroni. I've not raised her right, clearly.
I mean, those aren't my favorites either. I mean, I'll eat them, but
I like the bite of rotini. I like the way, you've got
yeah,
nice chew.
just a little chew. I think you're probably the penne rigata is what I get that good bite out of.
Yeah.
That's my sort of my go-to.
That's her go-to as well.
Yeah. So again, letting that go. I'm going to add next things I'm going to add to that over there is I'm going to add some farro, and this is a grain. It's a very easy grain to cook. This is actually this was a 10-minute version of farro that I got, I think, at Trader Joe's somewhere. But it's a grain. It's got a nice big puff. I think there's a cereal that I want to say like Sugar Smacks or something like that, are sort of farro based. But this is nice big fat grains. I think it's going to make a nice stuffing.
Yeah, I really like farro.
Yeah. Now you could do this with rice. You could do it with quinoa. You could do it with bulgur. Just about anything you've got on hand. This would be lovely for this. Couscous even. But we're going to do this. And what I did is I cooked this already. Ideally the day before, because I mean what we're doing here is really sort of on the order of fried rice. We're sort of making a fried rice that we're going to be stuffing these things with, except we're not using rice. We're using bulgur, and I'm not going to put egg in it, but you could. No reason why you couldn't. But but whenever you're making fried rice, you never want to make fried rice with rice you've cooked, just the rice you've just cooked. You always want to at least at the very least cook it and cool it, and then fry it. And I think
And day old or
day old is going to be better, is perfect. So doing some garlic up there, is that for your pasta?
that's for my pasta. I've got some. I'm just chopping it kind of finely. And once I get it chopped, I'm going to put it in this is the most simple pasta ever. So all I'm going to do is cook the pasta, drain it. I'm going to reserve some of the cooking water, which is a magic ingredient in almost any sauce, is that starchy water that's the result of cooking pasta. And then I'm going to just put this in a little olive oil, just barely let it sizzle, not brown, not get bitter. And then I'm going to pour the tomatoes and the pasta on it and some Parmesan cheese and hit it up. I guess I need to grate my cheese, don't I?
So you're not going to cook that garlic?
I'm going to cook it a little bit.
Just a
I'm
little
going
bit?
to put it in some hot oil.
In the hot oil, okay.
Yeah.
So not a lot, but a little bit.
Right.
Because I mean, raw garlic is a thing, but it's a thing unto itself.
It's a thing unto itself, and it's a thing I like, but not in this dish.
Not in this, I
I'm
wouldn't
definitely
think.
going to soften it.
Yeah, just a touch, just a touch. And I think it's about time to take a pause for the cause. So you are watching What's Cooking Now, coming to you live from the Hindman Settlement School. Thanks to everybody who's out there watching. We're sliding into fall today.
But hanging on to summer.
But hanging on to summer. So we'll be back in just a minute.
Reading well at an early age is essential to later success in education, employment, and life. Students who are not reading at proficient levels by the end of 3rd grade are more likely to struggle throughout their school years, which in turn leads to higher dropout rates and fewer students being college and career ready. In Appalachian, Kentucky, only 2 out of every 5 children enter 4th grade reading proficiently. Reading Corps at Hindman Settlement School strives to increase proficiency rates and close the achievement gap by delivering one-on-one and small group intervention to students in kindergarten through 3rd grade at partner public elementary schools across southeastern Kentucky. Each of the settlement's 40 members serves a caseload of 15 to 20 students and provides up to 30 minutes of daily instruction in phonics and comprehension to eliminate the barriers their students face to grade level reading. By ensuring that every student has an opportunity to succeed, Reading Corps is making a difference in strengthening our communities. For more information, visit hyman.org/Reading Corps.
Take your pointer finger, and I want you to mash down all the blue dots with one finger.
Okay.
Just one finger. Yeah. And hold it flat.
Any finger?
Hold it flat so you cover up all the strings.
Our Pick and Bow program is more than just music lessons. It's a way for young people to express themselves through music. Our wonderful team of music teachers seek to empower students to develop their own unique voice through music. Learning to play an instrument is often not an easy task. It's hard work, but it teaches valuable life skills like collaboration, active listening, and creative problem solving. And when young people are given the tools to be successful at something difficult, the confidence that emerges from that serves them in every area of their life. Bluegrass and traditional music is often played in group settings. And we believe this is really important because it helps young people connect with themselves and with others in their community and see their role in a group. And how do you add to the group sound, and how do you listen to what's going on around you and add to it? And because we focus on teaching traditional Appalachian instruments and songs, young folks are not only learning about Appalachian music, but they are actively participating in the rich musical traditions of Appalachia and Eastern Kentucky and claiming it as their own.
And we're back.
Welcome back. We are here on What's Cooking Now.
Is that goat cheese?
That is goat cheese. We'll talk about that in just a minute because that's going to get exciting. But
Hi to our good friend Lori, Roger
hey, Lori.
Selfridge, mother of Good Counsel Catholic Church.
Yep. So now many of you know Tamara, who is our who helps us out here in the kitchen, who is as big a part of this show as anybody.
She does most of the work.
She does most of the
Let's
work,
be
to be honest. She is probably the best baker I know. She has many great things about her, except possibly her taste in men. It's a little bit questionable. But she has decided to give us a little taste of fall with a cookie tonight. So hey Tam, want to come and tell us about these gorgeous little bites of fall?
Yeah, shove over just a little bit. So, I don't know if you've ever been to Biscuit Head in Asheville, Jenny, but...
I have not.
Oh, you gotta fix that.
Never been to Biscuit Head?
I've never been to Biscuit.
What the
Yeah,
hell?
we got to fix that immediately. But they make this on their jam bar. They have this sweet potato spread that they call it chai sweet potato butter. And it's
What?
like
That sounds amazing.
it's like apple butter but made with sweet potatoes. And they put what they call chai spice, but it's really just pumpkin pie spice because it doesn't have, cardamom and
Chai
ginger.
spice, because they're too hip to have anything that's pumpkin spice flavored.
Basically, yeah.
That checks out.
And I was like, I want that, but not necessarily with a biscuit.
I love this rolling pin, by the way.
Oh, it
That's
is
a
my
heavy
favorite
duty.
thing in
Yeah,
the
it's
world.
really nice.
Yeah, I think you wanted a rolling pin you could kill somebody with.
That's it.
Yeah,
that's
and
it.
if you ever have to soften butter, but you don't want to heat it up,
Whack
you
it.
just beat the crap out of it with
That's
the.
so satisfying.
And those and notice the rings on these. I think this is a really nifty that
Yeah.
not everybody's aware of, these little rings that
Yeah.
helps you roll things out flat and even.
Yeah, and they come in all sorts of different
I love
heights, so
that.
you can
So you can change them out?
yeah,
That's so cool.
yeah, they're just little silicone rings.
Oh, I love that.
They are.
That's amazing.
Like I said, my favorite thing. Hand me my cookie cutter, would you? I was like, you know what I really want that in? A cookie.
Yeah.
So, and then, the issue becomes what sort of cookie do you pair with that? Because, it's basically kind of jam-like, and you don't want it to be, super, super sweet. And
Right.
that is why I roll it between
Parchment.
yeah, because otherwise it'll eat your dough like that.
Easily fixed.
Right? And this is just a basic shortbread dough. And you may have noticed when I first had it out that it was kind of chunky and separated and didn't really look like a cohesive dough. And with shortbread, you kind of want that because it's like biscuit dough. The more you handle
don't
it,
wanna get the
it gets
butter too.
tough and it's just not great. But these are thinner than what you normally would bake a shortbread cookie at, just because this is going to be a sandwich cookie, and
love that.
you got to be careful about your proportion of filling to outside with any kind of sandwich. And
With a great big thick one that tends to squish
Yeah.
out.
it's,
So it
by
all
the time you
squishes
get
up
it
the
cooked,
sides.
it's like really hard and crunchy, and it's weird. And the filling was kind of squishy, so I think ended up with a couple of egg yolks and a little bit of cornstarch. And that made it so thick that basically when I tried to drop it off the spoon, I had to shake it,
Yeah.
and that makes it hold up for when you bite it.
I feel like I'm
would you hand
eating
me
this
my-
as a public service because
hand
Tamara said you shouldn't overhandle the dough, and so I feel like she shouldn't roll this
Right.
out again. So
Yeah, that has already been rolled out twice. It does not need another rolling.
it's good raw.
Right. And there's no eggs in it
I
because
love
it's
Toledo.
shortbread. So
I don't care if there are eggs. I'll eat it anyway.
I don't care either, but some people are weird about that kind of thing. And with really delicate doughs, they kind of want to tear up when you try to pick them up directly. So if you do that,
That's so smart. This is beautiful. I love the little scalloped edge.
that is entirely accidental because that is the cookie cutter they happen to have in front of me. And these do want to kind of puff up right in the middle and form a little hollow.
Yeah.
So if you mash them a little bit with your finger right in the
Just
middle.
right in the middle.
And these cook in no time at all, really. It's just
Yeah.
mashing them in your
They're so
especially.
thin, I imagine.
Yeah, I think we timed them out at like 8 to 9 minutes, depending on, how many times you open the oven to see how they're doing.
Is that it?
Yep.
Toss them in the top
Pop
of
them
it.
in.
And you've got them, you're baking them on a pretty low heat,
Yeah,
right?
shortbread you
300?
cook really low and slow because you don't have any egg you're trying to set. You're just trying to firm up all that crunchy sandiness. And if you wanted to do this, the semi-homemade way,
Yeah.
and just wanted to get a thing of pecan sandies and stuff some of this filling in it, that would also be delicious.
So by the magic of television, you have some of these that are...
I do.
already done. So this is stuffed with this gorgeous sweet potato butter.
Can we ask our tasting panel to come in and taste these cookies real quick? You can come back and have the rest of the food later. Because we are all about doing what feels good, and if eating dessert first is what feels good, then that's what we're going to do.
Well, it's
Come on in.
really dessert. I mean, it's vegetables.
So we've got Melissa Helton, who's a wonderful writer. She created the Ironwood Young Writer Series here at Hyman Settlement School, which is amazing. This is Violet. This is Violet.
We didn't know
Here,
we'd be on today.
let's cheers.
Lick it, sink it.
Thank you. Isn't that amazing?
I
So
dig it.
good. It's not too sweet, you know, and it's got that. Thank you.
love it.
You're welcome.
And to make the sweet potato butter, you just cook the crap out of sweet potatoes for.
Yeah, if you can make mashed potatoes, you can make
Yeah.
the sweet potato butter.
So good.
Because you just cook them, drain them, and then mash the snot out of them.
So,
Completely unreasonable amount of sugar.
That's delicious.
so I'm going to move on to my next step here in my in our stuffed squash. So I've got that squash is cooked up nice. It's picked up a lot of that flavor from the and it's looking nice and it's nice and brown. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this farro that I that we put that I said it's already cooked, but I'm just going to sort of dump that in there and stir that all up. And gonna let that cook just a little bit. Again, we're kind of going for a fried rice thing here almost, so we're just gonna get a little bit of browning on that, maybe on the bottom.
That looks so good. I'm just gonna
And
pour
really,
it
I
all.
mean, the stuffing that I'm making, I'm telling you, you could make this stuffing and just eat it. There's no reason you couldn't just eat this.
There's no reason I might not.
Yeah, probably what's ever left over, I definitely will. So, and I've got the other ingredients that are going to go in here. They're going to go in that stuffing. I've got, of course, my bacon that I did earlier. Here, I've got a chub of goat cheese that I cooked up a little while ago, or that I cut up just a little while ago. So this is about 4 ounces of that. Which is,
love goat cheese.
I love goat cheese. It's just very so tangy and so. It's just a flavor you don't get from much else. And then I've got some parsley that I'm going to add. I'm going to add really just about half of that to what I'm doing now, to the dish here, before and then we'll add the rest once it's done.
No. Is it done?
So Jenny's over here testing pasta. There's only one good way to test pasta for doneness, and that's to try a piece.
I think about that. I'm going to turn it off and let it sit while I do the rest. So I've got my tomatoes. I've got my little bit of garlic. I'm just going to put everything over here so it's an easy reach. And I've poured some olive oil in my pan. And I've got this on a kind of a low heat right now because I really want to be careful not to burn that garlic and make it bitter. So I'm just going to sizzle this around just a little bit. And this is not much garlic. I probably would have used more, but to be honest, I was a little too lazy to chop more.
And the thing with garlic, always remember when you put garlic in hot oil, have something standing by to stop the cooking.
I do.
Because what you do, you have your tomatoes, so that's perfect.
And I've got it on a fairly low heat.
Yeah, so you've got time there, especially when you're cooking garlic by itself. Now, if you're cooking it with an onion or something like that, then it's got
Then
some more
that liquid,
leeway.
yeah.
You've definitely got some more leeway there, but when it's all by itself, that turns to bitter within about, usually you want to, by the time you start smelling garlic, that's the time you want to pull that off.
And I am starting to smell
That's
it.
smelling good.
Just going to take my tomatoes, liquid and all, and toss those in. And again, I don't want to boil this down and make it super thick, but I am going to turn up the heat on that a little bit. I'm going to crank it up. Mix that in. And this is really pretty much it for this dish.
I mean, that's great. That's perfect.
I'm going to let that simmer just a minute, and I'm going to start thinking about my salad a little bit more. But you know, I'm kind of thirsty, Jonathan.
Is it about that time?
I think it is.
Well,
Do we
and
need to take another break first?
well, let's see. We got a few minutes.
Okay.
So actually, let me go ahead and finish my and put everything else together for my
Okay.
stuffing.
That piece is burned.
Yeah, you can't use that one. So I'm going to take my bacon and my parsley. I'm just going to put all the bacon back in there. And again, like I said, about half of my parsley, because I'm going to add some of that fresh at the end. And that's just going to make it pretty. That's Italian parsley, by the way. I almost always use Italian parsley when I'm cooking about anything. Then I'm going to take my goat cheese. Don't want to cook the goat cheese very much, so just want to add that right here at the end. Just going to put that in there. And again, you're going to hit that with this seasoning salt that I've been using throughout the dish, just to kind of add a little bit more flavor. And then that's it. That's
Sacrifice. Just have to sacrifice the outer layer.
so let's definitely get a shot of how pretty that is.
That is beautiful.
And again, all of these, this is not a combination that, there's nothing magic about the combination of things I've got in here.
And you really could put almost anything in that.
Anything could go in this. Anything, any leftover meat you have, any leftover vegetables, whatever grain you might have, whether it's rice or it's whatever you got, could all be lovely. And I mean, who doesn't have leftover rice in their fridge somewhere?
I don't right now, to be honest.
I usually do. I can't cook enough rice for 2 people. It's like not possible.
Yeah, it's really hard.
It's
One of the things I like about pasta shapes like this is that they're going to have some water that's clinging to them that's going to add to the sauce.
It is.
Add that little bit of starchiness to the sauce.
Yep.
And then I'm just going to push this back because...
So this is one of those things that, people wonder why pasta at restaurants is better than what they make at home a lot of times.
Because they have the most starchy, because they
They have that starchy water, and
Right.
because they finish the pasta in the sauce, in the skillet.
And then they've got like they don't dump that out and start fresh. Like
No.
their water is super
No, they keep that
starchy.
going.
Yeah.
So I'm going to come around hot behind,
Okay.
and then I'm going to go ahead and start stuffing these bad boys over here. So again, got my squash out that I'd roasted earlier. I'm just going to scoop this in there. It's a nice big glob, because we got that, again, this delicata squash. Once you get those
That looks beautiful.
once you get those seeds and everything out, so we want to pile it up, want to let it mound up a little bit.
This would be good in almost any kind of squash.
Almost any kind of squash. Definitely this would be good in a butternut or an
got
acorn.
some beautiful little butternuts from in our CSA from Old Home Place Farm tonight, and they're so little and dainty. I'm thinking I might want to do this with
Yeah, this
those.
would be perfect with a little squash. You got to dig a little bit more out of a butternut before you don't quite have that
Right. You don't
that
have
whole
the
big.
hole.
But that's fine. You can use that in your sacrificial squashception that happens here. So we got all those nice and stuff. Just going to pop those back in the oven, really just to warm this up. That's all we're going to do. Get it back in, warm it up just a touch.
And I'm just gonna let this,
So
the
which of these,
tiniest bit, cook a little bit of this water off, and then my pasta's pretty much done.
I'll go in the bottom one, a little bit hotter. And that pasta's looking nice, and I think
Yeah.
it's about time to pause once again. So again, you're watching What's Cooking Now. We're coming to you from the Hyman Settlement School tonight, talking about sliding into fall but hanging on to summer. And when we come back, we'll have a beverage, and we'll also
I'm ready for a beverage.
and we'll also be trying some of this stuff right here. So
Yeah,
join us in just a minute.
all right.
The Red Spotted Newt is a locally owned independent bookstore located in downtown Hazard, Kentucky, specializing in Appalachian literature from authors such as Silas House, Gurney Norman, and Annette Clapsaddle, among many others. The Newt also offers a full collection of art and gifts, including Little Bubby Child prints and these sweet cards inspired by The Office. Check out their store located at 221 Memorial Drive in Hazard, or shop online through bookshop.org. And be sure to follow them on Facebook and Instagram at the handle Red Spotted Newt. Hazard Coffee Company is the sole specialty coffee shop in Perry County. Focusing on high-tech, high-quality coffee and espresso, Hazard Coffee Company seeks to cultivate a community environment around coffee. They have a variety of options, including your favorites such as mochas and cold brews, as well as specialties such as the Taxi Alley, always brewed to precise perfection. Stop by their shop located on Main Street in downtown Hazard, or order online for delivery with DoorDash or at hazardcoffeecompany.com.
Reading well at an early age is essential to later success in education, employment, and life. Students who are not reading at proficient levels by the end of third grade are more likely to struggle throughout their school years, which in turn leads to higher dropout rates and fewer students being college and career ready. In Appalachian, Kentucky, only 2 out of every 5 children enter 4th grade reading proficiently. Reading Corps at Heinemann Settlement School strives to increase proficiency rates and close the achievement gap by delivering one-on-one and small group intervention to students in kindergarten through 3rd grade at partner public elementary schools across southeastern Kentucky. Each of the settlement's 40 members serves a caseload of 15 to 20 students and provides up to 30 minutes of daily instruction in phonics and comprehension to eliminate the barriers their students face to grade level reading. By ensuring that every student has an opportunity to succeed, Reading Corps is making a difference in strengthening our communities. For more information, visit hyman.org/Reading Corps.
And we're back. Well, so Jenny, I'm thirsty. How about you?
I am thirsty, Jonathan.
Well, and Jenny, what Jenny suggested for our cocktail tonight was something that is one of my favorite things. She had happened to have some on hand, which is a shrub syrup.
And Jonathan introduced me to these, and they've gotten kind of trendy, but I just want to point out that Jonathan was making these before it was trendy.
Before they were cool.
And really, we say that, but these are a really kind of old-fashioned
It really is. This
way
is
to
an old way.
preserve fruit.
Yeah. So this is a perfect, sliding from summer into fall, because this is how you can take all these gorgeous things that come around in the summer and make them last a little bit longer.
Mm-hmm.
So
and,
this is.
And the other thing I love about shrubs, I know we're about to make a cocktail, and everybody knows I love a cocktail. But I also really love these for when I just come home.
Mm-hmm.
I like to have something special to drink. I like to have something special to sort of signify that it's the end of the day.
Even if
that
it's
I'm
not
transitioning.
boozy necessarily,
But I don't
yeah.
know. I often don't want booze.
Yeah.
And just a shrub and a little sparkling water with a twist of lime is just so good.
Can be beautiful.
And these are delicious.
So what we've got here, so what she's brought for us is we've got a peach shrub and a blueberry shrub. And the way you make these, by the way, is you really, it's 3 ingredients. It's your fruit, whatever fruit you're using. It's vinegar and sugar. And the best way to do it sometimes is start in equal parts. Just do equal parts of all 3 and by weight, and then and you can either boil that up if you want to. You can boil and boil those to get them together into a syrup and then strain it out, or you can just sort of mash it all together and leave it in the refrigerator overnight. Let it kind of soak all that liquid out.
What I did with both of these is I heated the vinegar. And I put the fruit in it and I macerated it. I mashed it down. And then I put it in the refrigerator for a long time. Like I think I let the peach one sit for a month.
Oh yeah.
And then I strained it and strained the vinegar into a pan, and I made a syrup with it by boiling it again and adding sugar. And people, when you tell them about this, they're like, "Oh, I don't really like vinegar," but it doesn't taste vinegary. It's but it's tart.
Once somebody
delicious.
I was talking to somebody about making these, and they said, I made a shrub syrup, and it was really that vinegar bite was just a lot. And what I said is stash it somewhere for a month. And these don't necessarily have to be refrigerated. You can these will live forever. But just stash it somewhere and forget about it for a month or 2, and then it's going to get much better. So I'm going to go with our peach shrub here. So I'm going to go. I've got a couple of highball glasses. I've already put some ice in those. So just a drab of our peach shrub.
You help me scoop this in the bowl.
And then we've got some gin. This is some Roots of Ruin gin. This is from Castle and Key Distillery. Some really gorgeous stuff. Really great place to visit if you've never been out there. It's in Woodford County, I believe. So hit that with some gin. I like gin with a lot of these shrubs because it tends to be clean, but not as sort of flavorless as vodka. So it gives you a little bit of that herb botanical. Now I'm gonna dress this up just a little bit. I raided my bitters cabinet. So I have an enormous cabinet of bitters.
To try this. I love
so this
bitters.
is some.
I've never had ginger bitters.
And the thing about bitters is bitters are not necessarily bitter. The way to think about bitters is cocktail seasoning. So this is these are hella
Can I smell that?
This is
Ugh.
yeah. So this is just some ginger bitters from Hella Bitters.
A milk punch with that in it?
Yeah, I put this in a lot of things, just about anything brown. So I'm going to hit this pretty hard. Hit both these pretty hard because peaches and ginger. Come on, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. And then I'm going to top this with some seltzer, which I believe I have in the fridge over here. Yep. Try to keep your seltzer cold when you can.
It keeps it bubblier.
Keeps it bubblier. So, top this off. Now, I don't know what this started its life as. I found it in the kitchen somewhere. I mean, I suppose you could use it as a magic wand if you wanted to, or you know, make some. If I had a little ball, I could make it vanish. But tonight it gets to be a cocktail stirrer. So I'm just going to stir that. I mean, look at that for one thing. Let's just take a look at this gorgeous thing right here, where all that nice shrub is sitting in the bottom. But you're going to go ahead and stir that in. Now I've made these very freehand. As Jenny will tell you, I'm not usually quite such a freehand cocktail maker, but in this case I've made an exception.
Well, it's such a.
This is a fairly easy one to do. So let's give that a try. See how we did. And if you have to adjust it, you have to adjust it. Slancha?
I think that's really good.
Yeah, because you get all that peach and you get that.
That ginger really.
The ginger comes
kicks
through.
It up.
Yeah, it kicks.
I love
Yeah, you get that little bite of the ginger.
Yeah.
Oh, that's perfect.
Perfect.
I mean, that's a perfect late summer drink. You've got those. When you just think, you can think about the summer's peaches, how great they were, how great it was when you had fresh peaches all over the place.
Yeah.
So Jenny, what's going on over here?
So I'm just making a quick dressing.
Yeah.
I love Caesar dressing, and it's so easy to make. So I've just taken 2, in this case, duck eggs, because that's what I had, and some garlic. And a lot of people think that they don't like anchovies. I think I can't find my anchovy there. A lot of people think that they don't like anchovies, but you can sneak them in.
Yeah, I mean,
now,
anchovies are one of those things
that actually. I have made clear that I don't sneak food on people. I will tell you what you're eating. I will not try to trick you. I'll judge you if you won't try something that you've never had and you say you don't like it. But, you know, I'm not going to trick you. So these are just some anchovy fillets. They're so good. And, you know, a lot of people don't know that's what makes Worcestershire sauce. And I'm just going to lift out a couple of these fillets.
And this is, to me, this is Caesar dressing. It's really not a Caesar dressing without those. And I mean, I'm not somebody who will just typically eat anchovies on a pizza or something like that.
I will. I love them.
But you know, as a background note, I think they're unbeatable.
Remind me to tell you something about anchovies later that I can't say on there.
I'm sure.
I think we've talked about this before.
We probably have.
Okay, so I've got garlic in here too. I've got a lot of garlic because I really like this garlicky. And I love this dressing because it keeps in the refrigerator for a little while. And it's just so, and you can do so many things with it. Like, I love it as a dressing, of course. It's also just really good spread on, like a sandwich spread. It's good tossed with pasta. It's just good for everything. So I've got my eggs and my garlic and my anchovies, and I'm going to put a little bit of salt in there. The anchovies are pretty salty, but I like my dressing salty. And I'm just going to hit it for a minute. You could do this with an immersion blender. You can also do it, you could just whisk it really hard with your hand. And I have made this before and not drizzled the olive oil in. I mean, I'm not making mayonnaise here. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
And it still works pretty well. But in this case, I'm going to take this little thing out of the top, so I've got this hole, and I am going to kind of drizzle in my olive oil. That's not really drizzling, is it?
Caesar dressing, of course, first invented in Tijuana, of all places. One of those things put together late night with what was left in the kitchen.
I forgot the lemon juice. That's essential. You need the acid or it won't. Almost forgot. Sometimes when I make this, I'll also go ahead and throw in the zest of the lemon. I knew I was forgetting something. This is a pretty forgiving, though, unlike mayonnaise, which can break really easy. This is a pretty forgiving emulsion. Hit that again.
Working for you? No, I was looking for my...
And you can see it changing color. You can see that lighter color the way it's emulsified. thick enough, so I'm going to add some more olive oil.
Get this often enough you can tell it's not.
And you can tell by the way the blender sounds.
Yeah. There you go.
It's still a little thin, but we'll work with that. I'm going to go ahead and put my salad together. So I've got my roasted veg.
All I have left for any roasted veg.
I've got this beautiful kale from Old Home Place Farm. And one of the things that I love about getting kale from Old Home Place Farm is that Maggie triple washes the greens. I don't like washing greens.
No.
It's something I'm real lazy about. And I'm just going to dump that in my bowl. Maybe not all of it. And it's, look at those tender little baby kale leaves.
Pretty,
They're so
pretty.
beautiful. And I'm going to just scatter my roasted vegetables on them. And I've got some butternut squash here, which is this really deep orange, and then I've got some delicata squash. And then over here, I have my roasted beets. I've got some beets that turned out really pretty for some color. My radishes.
That is just pretty.
It is pretty, isn't it? I think I'm gonna hit this just a little bit more so it'll emulsify a little bit more. I hope.
So I mean, this would be a perfectly valid main dish.
And I think, do we have everything ready?
I think everything's about ready.
I'm just
Yep.
gonna drizzle this. This is still a little thinner than I want, but that's okay. I think it's because I forgot to put the lemon in. It didn't emulsify well. All right, so we've got some onions to scatter on top of this. We've got our pasta.
So that's looking good, and you're going to top that with some of your
drizzle
that
it.
gorgeous green basil oil. And when you put that on while the pasta's still hot, it's gonna sort of
Melt
just
in.
wake it up just a touch. Oh, that's pretty.
And I'm just gonna put a little bit more cheese on top of that.
Never heard
Because you
anything.
can never have too much cheese.
Never heard anything. Nice, nice.
I think that's it.
And we pulled out and plated
Look at that. That
those
is gorgeous.
those squash that we did. I mean, that is just a gorgeous main dish right there.
That
I mean,
is-
that's
that
just
is
really
beautiful.
nice. That's just
Look at that.
So we've just topped that with some of the parsley we had left over. We talked about saving back some of that parsley. We pulled those out so they've just browned, so that farro's browned on top just a little bit. Remember, we added that goat cheese and really stirred that goat cheese in, by the way. You know, found those big globs and sort of broke them up, so that goat cheese sort of almost binds this together just a little bit. And that's also what helped that brown on top just a touch.
That is beautiful. I'm going to grab
So-
some plates so we can
Yeah, we've
try
got some
this.
right here.
Oh,
Tam's
you
already
did?
gotten
Tam's
some
ready
plates.
for us.
So
What
I'm
a
gonna.
beautiful bunch of food.
This is all just this is exactly how I want to transition into fall. So I'm going to pull off a couple of these and cut them up, and then we'll. So if our tasting panel would like to join us once again.
looks amazing.
So grab a plate if you like.
Here. Or here, let us make you a plate. Is there anything in any of this that you don't want to eat?
Make sure you get some of that basil oil there. Oh, hey, what's up? We'll get it all dished up. We always welcome our tasting panel. You know, whenever we're doing this, if you want to come down and join us anytime, we are more than happy to have you join us. So, what do you think?
It's all wonderful.
Yeah, those little roasted squash right there on top. Those are fantastic on that salad.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the thoughts wearing her Taylor Swift merch. Jenny and I both saw that show. We were at different nights.
It's fabulous.
We were
I'm going in November.
nice.
Next November, yeah.
Nice. In Indianapolis? Or, nice.
It was really a special evening.
It was.
My daughter and I were just talking about this, and it's easy to I think, dismiss it or to roll your eyes at it. I think at the whole phenomenon that was Taylor Swift, but it was really for me. It was a really special night to be with my daughter and to spend that time with her, because that's the soundtrack of her youth. You know.
Well, and what I've said many times is that I work with a lot of nursing home patients, and music is the last thing that goes. I've known people who didn't know anything else in the world, that the last thing, that they were still able to sing songs, they were still able to, they knew all the words to the songs they played, the songs they knew when they were kids. So it's just a very, to me, music is just that's how fundamental it is, and that's why I say. And that's why it's also going to be fun when, when all of us are in nursing homes in 20 years and we're like singing Violent Femmes
You're
lyrics.
banging your ukulele.
Yep. So, trying my squash here.
The squash looks fabulous.
Oh, yeah. And the squash in and of itself, I would just eat that and be done with it, but add everything together.
We don't always plan these things to coordinate, but I feel like this is a plate. Like, I feel like I would eat this as a meal, you know what I mean? I would serve these things together.
Yeah. And that pasta is beautiful. It's just, just barely, that tomato's just barely cooked.
I feel like it needs a little salt.
Just a touch. But the tomato's just cooked, but then that basil oil really comes through. More so than you usually get the basil in a sauce like that.
Oh, my God.
And then the salad, of course, and that salad is just something else.
Oh, but the squash. Oh, the bite of the farro against the...
It's just perfect. And that's just a classy main dish, and like I said, all you'd have to do is leave the bacon out of it, and that's completely vegetarian. And it would still be delicious. It would still be absolutely fantastic. So I think there's there's absolutely no reason that couldn't be a really showstopper of a vegetarian dish.
That is so good.
Well, Jenny, I think for our first show back, we could not have really done a whole lot better. I think if we must slide into fall, this is the way to go. You'll find us right here once a month on this and wherever you find
Facebook Live, and you can view these. You can go back and watch them again and again.
Watch them again and again. You can go to sleep listening to it if you want. Don't know why you would, but you certainly could.
That's what my students do when I lecture. So
yeah, well, believe me,
hopefully
been
this
there.
is a little more exciting.
Yeah, but we do want to thank our entire crew here. I want to thank our tasting panel tonight. Everybody who's shown up to brave our food. I want to thank all of you for watching and listening, everybody who commented, everybody who's thrown in their thoughts. We really appreciate it. And
can't wait for October.
Can't wait for October. We're going to talk about food that scares you. We'll figure out later how we define that. But but that's going to be our thoughts. So
big hi to our friends, the pals, Amy Clement's pal.
What's up? Everybody who's commented, everybody who's listened tonight. And well, Jenny, I think it's time to go. So.
Till next time, remember, feed the ones you love and love the ones you feed.
Take care, y'all.
What's Cookin' Now is a production of Hyman Settlement School, with funding provided by the Kentucky Humanities Council. Hyman Settlement School is committed to cultivating and growing the local food system and the unique culinary and agricultural traditions of Central Appalachia through our foodways programs. For more information on our work, visit us at www.hyman.org and be sure to tune in to What's Cookin' Now on the first Thursday of each month to see what's cooking.